Man, that shit hurts my fucking heart, man. Oh, I'm so irritated after watching that documentary. So, I was talking to this guy from Lebanon last night, and he was telling me about, the ammonium nitrate exploding and, how he was there and how, the country is just fractured. And so we were talking about, I know a little bit, I know about the colonialization of the French that were there. And, you have the different uh, groups. You got the Maronites, who are the Christians, you got the Sunnis, and then you have, these other groups. You had Yasser Arafat, who was part of the PLO, who went to Lebanon and they tried to kick him out. And then the country kind of like split and everybody was like picking sides. And because basically the French had left at that point. And or I think they had a French U.S. embassy there still. But in any event, anytime the Europeans go into a nation and they colonize it, and then you have different ethnic groups there. I mean, they do it every freaking time. Every time they go in there and they meddle around and they give, one group, a slight edge. Whoever's the biggest bitch, basically, whoever's the most docile, right? They give all the power to. You know what I mean? They did this in Rwanda with the Hutsis and the Tutsis. They always find a way to manipulate the situation, and okay, how do we create, unrest? How do we create tensions and use it to our advantage? They always do that shit. They did it in Pakistan when they left, or not specifically. They did that when they left, but I'm saying, you know, once the British left Pakistan in 1947, or India, Pakistan, once India got its independence, I should say that, you had the Indian-Pakistan border dispute. And I remember watching a documentary, and they had this Sikh grandfather. He was so terrified of the Muslims raping his children, he killed his own grandchildren, hacked them to death with his sword. I think that it wasn't the grandfather who was telling the story. I think it was the grandson talking about how the grandfather basically hacked his sisters to death because the Muslims, they were outside or something like that, outside the whatever Sikh temple or something. And then you got the Biafran War, which they don't teach in schools apparently, because I'm reading the comment sections and they're all saying they don't teach this in school. And some people might argue that the video is biased because it seems to be, I mean, it doesn't, the person that made the documentary doesn't say like what they're affiliated of, but it's definitely more pro Igbo. And right at the beginning of the video, I'm right at the beginning of the video, just off the rip, I'm like, Igbo should have been running shit. Period. The Igbos should have been running. So basically, they broke down the country into three categories. You got the North, you got the East, and you got the West. And you have the Northerners who were Muslim, and who were how do you say it? Hausa. Anyway, the Muslim Northerners. This is where all the Boko Haram people come from. Okay. Look, I'm not trying to start any shit, but I'm like, and the brother that was talking, that was Hausa in the video, he was real educated. But at the end of the day, I'm like, nigga, y'all some cattle herders and shit. Y'all don't do shit. Y'all don't know shit from piss. And then the whole thing is like, their whole way of life. Like they're like the bead pie selling motherfuckers. Like they're like the ones, look out your third eye, like Islam is, how I feel about Islam. How I feel about Arabization of the Negro. It is not in the interest of black people. You want to go over there and you want to, be a cattle herder and, you want to live a basic agrarian lifestyle. You go do that. You go do that. You know what I mean? But that does not qualify you to be in the goddamn driver's seat. You know, it just reminds me of the shit we talk about with the gender war and stuff like that, where you get these feminists that think that a man's gonna go off and build something and then hand her the keys as though she's qualified to. How you gonna manage some shit that you don't even build? You know what I'm saying? Like, how you gonna be in control of that which you do not create? You don't know anything about it, but yet you gonna be in control of it. Like, oh, bro, like, yo, like this documentary, I was so mad watching this shit. Cause I'm like, you know, the whole Igbo population, again, based off of this documentary. Maybe there's some other documentaries that say some other shit. But I'm saying, if the whole of Africa took the Igbo position, you know what I mean? Africa would have been like Wakanda and shit. You know what I mean? Because they were industrious. I mean, like, again, that's what the rest of the world is. You know? That's who should be in the driver's seat. But instead, here you go with the, you know, everybody else is jealous, right? They got the Yorubas, even though they didn't talk about the Yorubas being jealous. I'm pretty sure the Yorubas, they sided with the Nigerian government, right? Um, so you got Ojukwa and you got the other dude. I forget what the other dude's name is, nor do I care. But you know, the Yorubas, you know, their whole thing is they're more artistic. A lot of the actors and stuff. That's the documentary we're saying. I'm like, again, not not a position that's gonna make you qualified to lead and run shit. Like I do not fuck with money. Like in other words, no, I shouldn't say it like that. I'm saying money is that important when you're talking about a nation, when you're talking about the prosperity of a people, when you're talking about quality of life. It's about the money. Who's making the money? The Igbos, they're the business people. They go in, they move to different regions, and they you know, the Hausa guy was like, they monopolize the market. And so the fuck what? What are you gonna do with it? You just sitting there, you know, with your Muslim garb on, you know, chilling, smoking hookah. Like seriously, and the British, they literally intentionally like put them there, you know, made it so that the Northerners run shit because they were the most, you know, basically, you know, pliable. I mean, you got to think about that. Like that's not a good look. You know what I mean? Like that a foreign entity, the white man, comes in there and puts you in power. Like you got to look at that. You got to look at yourself in the mirror. Why are they putting you there when you already know that there's some other productive motherfuckers in the country and that leave you feeling some type of way? Anytime you're feeling some type of way, you know what I'm saying? Chances are you're dead wrong. Like you're just in the wrong. You know, and I don't blame the Igbos for feeling some type of way. Like, you know, when they're looking at the Hausa and they just, you know, spending the government's money and living, you know, lavish and, you know, balling out of control and everything, but they're not doing any of the work. They're not doing any of the legwork. Like, oh my God, man. Like, you know, I'm just like, I've watched several documentaries on the Biafran War, but this one was rather, you know, rather complete. It went into like, it started from the beginning and then just going through and laying the shit out. I got like a couple more minutes to finish the video and see how, you know, shit closed up to really understand it. But I'm just saying, I'm like, so let me get this right. Yoruba's artistic, Hausa, a bunch of cattle herders, you know, and then the Igbo, they're really the industrious ones, the ones that get an education, all that other stuff. So let me get this right. So basically, every every university and program that I've been in, the Nigerians that were sitting next to me in the classroom, you telling me that they were all Igbo? I don't think I've ever met a Hausa, a Nigeria, you know, at a university. You know what I'm saying? I've met a few Yorubas here and there. You know, they they'll get their education, but I think I've definitely met more Igbo. And it's like, so, you know, people talk about Nigerians and they're getting an education and they're, you know, out there, you know, doing big things and whatnot. And, you know, when you break it down by tribe, it seems to me that the Igbos are the most successful. And I'm like, we need more of that in the black world. And what pisses me off about just the whole documentary, the whole dynamic is, it's like, here you got the unproductive black people, holding back the productive black people because they want to, maintain their lifestyle and all this other shit. But I'm like, how dare you? Like, nigga, how dare you? You want to maintain a lifestyle based off of a level of productivity that you don't even engage in. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, talk about the bullshit of it all. Talk about the bullshit. Where does Islam come in and have and even check a person about that shit? You know what I mean? How you gonna, like, literally you sitting there? Oh, I got the Quran, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, all that shit, and you mean to tell me that you're mad because some other productive individual, is running shit? Like, in other words, like, if that Quran is so good, then why weren't the House of people the wealthiest? They over there, living modest and everything else like that. And isn't that like region like more like desert? So like you wouldn't be able to do shit with the land anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like they put the assholes in the driver's seat, like the British did. They came in there and they put the assholes in the driver's seat. Motherfuckers don't know shit. Oh, I can't stand that. There's nothing I can't stand more than incompetent people in the driver's seat. You know what I'm saying? People again, the black world needs to be a meritocracy. Okay, the people who should be running shit, they need to, like that even the whole thing, the whole, the parties breaking down, it being along ethnic lines. That's always a problem. It's always a problem. If you're going to have a democracy, it has to be a meritocracy. You know what I'm saying? At its core, or when it comes down to its fundamental belief, it cannot be based on ethnicity. It has to be based on a meritocracy. May the best man or the best woman for the job get the position. It has to be, an integrated setup. And, it's just, just watching it. I'm just like, you got an industrious people. And I'm saying the Igbo, again, based on the documentary, I'm like, that could have been the model for many different, like, I'm talking about just the Igbo mentality. Get your money up, get your paper, entrepreneurs of business. If that mindset had spread like, a wildfire to, local African regions, like, do you know how unfuckwittable Africa might be right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody else is on some magical shit. Everybody else is always on some unproductive shit, fighting about who has the best invisible friend, who's got the best sky daddy, or you get some artistic motherfuckers out there that want to, I'm artsy fartsy. Look, art is cool, but it don't pay the bills like industry and business and all that. Like, just, bro, like, why are you in the driver's seat? Like, the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, so you put the cattle herders in the driver's seat. Why are the cattle herders in the driver's seat? Like, do you know how prosperous I know Nigeria is the most prosperous, nation in Africa, but I'm saying they still got these bullshit ass ethnic problems and shit like that. And the Hausa they still up there, acting like, they supposed to run shit and everything else like that, and like bitching like their opinions actually matter. I understand they're the largest region and they got a lot of people and everything, but I got a serious problem with anybody acting like they're on par with somebody else when they're not educated, they don't have the skill set, they're not industrious and everything else. Because I'm looking at the bigger picture of where the country needs to go. I don't give a fuck about your how you feel. Hey, if you want to be in the driver's seat, if you want people to respect your opinion and everything else, then you need to be as industrious as this other group of people that are in the country. It's just that simple. This is a whole situation where you can't sit there and blame it on, race and stuff like that. Like we're like in America, you have different ethnic groups, and one ethnic group will do better than another ethnic group, and people start screaming, racism and stuff like that, or oh, there's something wrong with, this group culture, because there's so much crap and inequality and racism that did happen in America. So you get a lot of people that they'll fall on that. But I'm like, when I'm looking at this video and I'm looking, this is a black country. Everybody involved in this video is black. And I want to see the black people that are the most industrious, you know, be as successful as they can be and spread that ideology like a cancer. That's a good ideology for everybody to have. But then you just get these people that just like, well, we exist, and so therefore, we should have 50% say. Like, no, you don't get 50% say. You need to show and prove if you want 50% say. Now, granted, the Igbo, like if you're going to have a country and the oil reserves were in, where the Igbo territory, the Eastern Territory, and they're like, we want the oil for us. No, I don't agree with that. I think, again, natural resources that are within the borders of a country need to be, dispersed evenly through the population. Everybody in Nigeria should benefit off of natural resources. Okay, that shouldn't be a regional thing, because that's going to instigate a fight, and that's one. So if we have oil in the east, and the Igbos are like, oh, it's mine. Like, I don't agree with that. Like, I'm like, nah, you're gonna have to share that with the House of People. But when it comes to using your mind, using your capabilities to go out here and what do you want to call it? Manipulate markets and, to your advantage, and you're the one making the money. Nah, that's the person that needs to be in the driver's seat. I mean, could you imagine like a healthy competition between the Yoruba, the Hausa, and the Igbo, and they like if the whole country took on that Igbo mentality of being industrious and business and everything else. Could you imagine? And then other, countries that are nearby take on that same attitude. But instead, the industrious people, which again, Asian nations are industrious, freaking Europe is industrious, right? Everybody else, they have their Dubais. Everybody else has their, their mega cities and everything that they put together, that they established. Chinese, like, yes, we're going to build a city. It's going to be called Shenzhen, and we're going to manufacture basically everything that's on Amazon and Alibaba. Right here, we're going to manufacture all of it. And that's what they did, right? But when it comes to, the Nigerians and like black people, just the continent of Africa, it's like we actually have to sit there and argue and debate with a bunch of motherfuckers that about feelings and shit. Like literally, you're gonna put some cattle herding shit and some, we know how to make, Benin style statues and shit. You gonna put that on par with a dude that knows how to put together a Fortune 500 company. Like, for real? You gonna put you must recognize us as equal. Like, nah. Anything, you need to get on what I'm on. Like, that's like, oh God, that shit just irritates the fuck out of me. Because there was a unbelievable opportunity for this to go in the appropriate direction. Wakanda forever. There was an unbelievable opportunity for this to go in the appropriate direction, and it just, wasted life, just wasted potential. You know what I'm saying? Assassinated leaders that were brilliant. You should see these brothers when they get on the microphone and they start talking, and you like, damn. You know what I mean? Like, just sounding like true leaders and whatnot. I'm just like, oh my God, man. I'm like, for real? All this just went to shit. Like, it just went to shit. And I'm like, all because the people who originally should have been in the driver's seat weren't in the driver's seat. And the British did that shit intentionally. They said, oh no, we don't want, because these educated Negroes, oh no, we can't have that. These niggas with resources, oh no, we can't have that shit. No, let's give it to the motherfuckers walking around, with sandals, praying 5 times a day, with the cattles and shit. Like, let's give the keys to them because they're more pliable. In other words, they're weak. They're weak, and we can control them. And I'm saying for the house of people to be arrogant off of the strength of that, like, bro, oh my God, yo, I put hands on you. I put hands on you, nigga. I put hands on you. Oh my God, man. All that just fucked it up. Just fucked it up. And even still, I'm pretty sure Nigeria has to deal with like this type of BS, this sort of ethnic, back and forth, and all these animosities that still linger in the background, from the war, because there's still people in the comment section that's talking about my dad lost his mother and lost his father in the war, and this is just off of the comments, so I'm like, yeah, this shit it's not that long ago. Remember, my father grew up underneath, was born underneath American apartheid. It's not that long ago. This isn't ancient history. This is like a generation or two ago. Oh, man, God, that shit just pisses me off. It's just, why? Go ahead. I'll put the link in the description box. Watch the documentary and see if you don't get pissed off. It's like what business do you have being in the driver's seat, bro? Like, what business do you have? You don't know how to economically compete on a global scale. What business do you have being in the driver's seat? Oh, it's all about the love. What's the whole problem with Africa? Niggas are broke. You got all the young black men in Africa fleeing to Europe for what? Economic opportunities, because you need money in order to survive. Plain and simple. Africa is the wealthiest continent, on the planet in terms of resources, and yet none of the Africans benefit from it. You cannot have a bunch of cattle herders or a bunch of artistic motherfuckers in the driver's seat when you're talking about that. And that's why Africa is suffering now. And you get a bunch of overly religious people and shit. I'm like, y'all don't need to be in the driver's seat. I don't care whether you're Christian or whether you're Muslim. You don't need to be in the driver's seat. If you're overly religious and mad, where is that got in Africa? Where? Tell me where. Where does the religiosity benefit the African? It doesn't. Just damn, the Chinese people, they don't even believe in that shit. They got Communist Party, and they don't subscribe to any freaking religion. But yeah, every time you buy something, where is it made? China. Then the Chinese come in and, they're doing all the crap that they're doing in Africa now. Oh yes, we'll build you some roads. Just give us some of those raw materials really, 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 really cheap. Oh yeah, take out one of our Chinese loans with hellified interest. That way we know that you'll never be able to pay it back. And then, you have to, give us a pound of your flesh. Give us your raw materials. You see, if you had Igbo mentality in the driver's seat, chances of that shit happening, if that mentality was spread across Africa, chances of that happening, it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? But when you got people that don't know anything about business, don't know anything about economics, want to live a simple life and everything, which is, again, it's cool, but you don't need to be in the driver's seat. Because when we talk about shmoney, we talking about shmoney. You don't need to be in the driver's seat. God, man, that documentary just got underneath my skin, man. I swear. And I'm not trying to start any shit between fucking Nigerians. I don't even have to worry about the freaking house of people feeling some type of way and shit like that, because, judging by the documentary and even though a couple of them were in the comments section, but I'm like, they're not plugged in like that. You know what I mean? The East and the West are where all the, where all the, the cities and, all the, the major metropolitan areas are. Those people are tied in. I mean, you just look at it. I mean, look at a picture of Nigeria topographically from the top. It's like, oh, it's green over here, and then all of a sudden it just turns into like just this tan color. I'm like most of that area is just not. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. I mean, it's like having I don't know, some damn, people living out in the boonies somewhere. It's like, yeah, we're gonna give them the keys and make them the captain of the ship. It's like, what? Like, what? Wait, what? Huh? What? Yeah, we're gonna make somebody who lives in, I don't know, freaking Idaho. Yeah, we're gonna make them mayor of New York. Like, what? Like, bro, we're gonna make them mayor of London. Like, somebody who lives like way out in the sticks. It's like, oh my God, man. I see why the Igbos got irritated. I would have been irritated too. I would have been on some, freaking, Biafra, independent shit too. I'd have been like, nah, we got to get away from these motherfuckers, man. They don't know what the fuck they doing. They just up there just consuming the resources that they don't even make. Then got the audacity to say something about, uh, uh, you know, how money hungry we are, and we want to monopolize this and monopolize that. Like, no, the Igbos, like, and that's the whole thing. Like it's like the Igbos had the right approach. Like, imagine, where, I mean, think about the things that black people say, elsewhere in the world. You go to the Caribbean, who owns all the stores? The Indians and the Asians. And the black people, they in their own country bitching about the fact that, oh, these other people, they're controlling everything and we don't have anything. You see, so it's like that Hausa mentality has permeated the black world. But the Igbo mentality, which black people, all the black diaspora would benefit from, has not, spread, like wildfire. And every place where black people have the Hausa mentality, that we're living this agrarian spiritual lifestyle. Every time they have that mentality, the other ethnic groups come in and take over, right? Like, nobody ever sits around and says, oh, those damn black people, they always monopolizing. Like, I wish that other groups were saying that about black people. You know what I mean? I wish everywhere black people went, they were monopolizing and other peoples were feeling some type of way. I wish that were the case. But instead, we end up with the Hausa model. We end up with the model of, not controlling anything, other ethnic groups coming in, us being jealous of them, us feeling some type of way about them, right? Us talking about how they're monopolizing everything. I'm like, why aren't we doing that? But instead, what we get magic and sorcery and feel goodery and looking out your third eye. And it's not about the money, it's about your spiritual journey and all this other shit. But again, you look at the conditions in which you have so many black people living. And it's like, for real? For real? Like, the most industrious people, oh man, I mean, you're just gonna, we must wipe them out. You're going to wipe out the industrious ones. Like, yeah, that makes a whole bunch of sense when you're trying to build, a nation that can be economically viable, and go out here, and compete. I mean, bro, that tribal shit needs to, that's the whole problem with Africa. The whole, I said it before, it's too diverse. You get all these ethnic groups. Everybody gets, it's like tribalism's like the cousin to racism. You know what I mean? That's what tribalism, like, you're creating mini racial categories that nobody else sees, but only the inter-ethnic, whatever inside the group, they're the only ones that see it. Nobody else sees it. You know what I mean? Other groups, they look and they just see blacks fighting blacks. And I understand that there's inter-ethnic. I mean, that's the Lebanon. I mean, they got like all these different factions and descendants, the political parties that exist now are descendants of those political factions. You know what I see when I look at Lebanon? A bunch of Arabs. Arabs fighting Arabs, Arab on Arab violence. Like, that's what I see. I don't see the different ethnic, you have the Maronites and you have the Druids or whatever they call themselves, the Druze or something like that. You got, the people that come from the PLO, and then they had like this one family, I forget what the family is called, but they were like some Christian Lebanese, and I'm like, well, actually no, they're part of the Maronite group. But anyway, like, again, it's like I just see a bunch of Lebanese people that can't get their shit together. That's all I see, and that's what people see, when they see, any state where black people are fighting other black people. I mean, that's I'm telling you, that's the one thing that white people did, in terms of taking over the world. Man, they were fighting the hell out of each other in Europe. They set all their differences aside, and they said, look at it. They go and they form the, European Union, right? Now we all know about Brexit with the UK and everything, but I'm saying they came together and say, hey, we work with each other. We have more power in unison than we do, outside of that. Gaddafi tried to put together the Mataba, he put together the Mataba conference and tried to create the United States of Africa, and then tried to go to, gold bullion and everything. And, that would fuck up, the banks and stuff like that of Europe, the IMF and all that. So they was like, oh, hell no, nigga, you got to go. You know what I mean? So, that's why they went into Tripoli and bombed Libya and everything else. That was about money, so, God, it's just, I don't know why Africans, and maybe they do, because, the name of the channel is New Africa, and I see a lot of the stuff, that, you got the Ghanaian president, he talks about he's progressive with it and everything. Like, it's like Africans need to, recognize that when people look at Africa, like, they look at it from the standpoint of all you blacks. They don't care about your inter-ethnic struggles and all that. They don't give a fuck about any of that shit. They could care less. All they see is a bunch of niggas that are poor and don't have shit. And then you get a tribe or ethnic group that's very industrious. You know what I mean? And again, people want to talk about, oh, well, the Igbos, and they were selfish, and they were just monopolizing everything. And my thing is like this. They might have been. They might have just focused on themselves. We're not sharing the wealth and everything else like that. But my attitude is, why weren't you trying to get the money like they were getting the money? Why didn't you recognize and adapt and try to incorporate what was clearly working for them and make it work for you? Why weren't you trying to do that? But they weren't trying to do that. So I'm like, so you can't complain. It's like these guys that, young guys that are always like, man, I'm trying to get big like you. I'm like, well, I go to the gym, 5 times a week. Yeah, but I'm trying to get big like you. But you're going to have to go to the gym 5 times a week. You know what I mean? And then when Saturday comes and you walk into the bar, you walk into the club, and then the chick that they want to get at is looking at me, and they're sitting there feeling some type of way. Whose fault is that? Is that my fault? It's my fault? He should be mad at me, you know what I mean? Because the chick that he wants to smash is looking at me and she wants to get with me. Is that my fault? When I'm in the gym 5 times a week and I already told him, hey, if you want to, up your game, you need to get in the gym and get your body right. You see what I'm saying? So the economic aspect is the same thing to me. It's the exact same thing. I'm like, hey, they over there business. Why don't you go and talk to him and say, man, how we're all a part of this Nigerian nation. Like, how do How are we supposed to like do this? But see, the problem is the division of many black people in Africa, those that, are Igbo and those that are House, they don't have like this recognizing, you know, where they are on a global scale. Like, yeah, that racial component does come up once you step outside of the country and you start dealing with the other groups. It is a competition. And Africa just doesn't seem to, they don't seem to recognize that, especially, when you look at the anti-blackness, maybe us as African Americans or even some black people that are in the UK, they get it because we're constantly, being, told about the inferiority of black people or the inferiority of the black condition and whatnot. And how, oh, you all are just dependent on us and you all don't have your own shit. Well, I want black people to have their own shit. But it's like if you got so much infighting and you don't, so the Europeans, they go off and, they go and form Voltron and you can't form your own Voltron, you're going to lose. You're going to lose in the grand scheme of things. You're going to lose. It's like having a highly organized basketball team versus a team where everybody's fighting to be the point guard and nobody's working together. I'm like, you're going to lose. You know what I mean? They're doing all type of alley-oops, reverse dunks, the behind the back passes, no look passes. I mean, they are like a well-oiled machine. And you just sitting over there with your ethnic squabbles, your religious squabbles and shit. And then again, you got the other issue of the fact that it's never a meritocracy. That's part of the problem with not only Arab nations, but also black nations. They always go in there and, oh, yes, I am president. And now I will appoint my brother as secretary of the state. I will appoint my first cousin as prime minister. It's like, for real. Like, are they qualified to be there? No. This is this profound lack of trust. It needs to be, one educational system, one type of curriculum, and it should all be geared and focused on, the nation being successful. That's all that matters. All the other shit is just noise. It's just bullshit and noise. But again, it's like good luck trying to execute that with people that, believe that their faith is a way of life. And, they bring all this spiritual, shit, all this intangible shit into the room. And then you're sitting there arguing about who has the best sky daddy. What does that have to do with getting black people out of poverty? Like, what does that have to do with creating an economic base, and creating legacies and generational wealth? Not a goddamn thing. Nothing. I could see if the religious component was actually out here making people, prosperous, and people couldn't become successful, with, being independent of religion. Like, you had to have one in order for you to be successful. But it's not true that you need to be religious in order to be successful. It's not true. It's not like it's not like the Igbo were not entrepreneurial or only became entrepreneurial after they became Christian. After the Europeans, were like, here, read this book about white Jesus. And then, absorb all this anti-personal indoctrination and self-hatred and worship the God that looks like me as opposed to looks like you, and creates massive amounts of inferiority complexes and everything else in you. It's frustrating. Anyway, let me go finish like the last 5 minutes of this documentary, and that's pretty much all I got to say about it, because I was pretty much finished it. It's just frustrating. It's like, I hate just what could have been, man. What could have been. I don't agree with, I don't think Biafra, they had really, it's like they didn't really have much of a choice. It's like you got surrounded by a bunch of assholes that bring very little to the table, but just take, but, it's like, damn, like, again, the people that are most qualified should be in the driver's seat. It's plain and simple. I don't know why. I don't know why it is black people can't adapt. I just want to say this. I don't know why is it we can't adapt. You know what I mean? When somebody else is doing better, instead of saying, "Damn, I need to get on whatever he's doing. I need to drop whatever I'm on religiously, culturally, whatever I'm on. Clearly, this isn't working, and whatever they're doing is working." Like, I don't know why we don't grab the playbook and just run with it. We like black people always seek to preserve their culture, or, their identity, even when it's not working. It was not working for them. Like I'm not about. I just don't linger in the past of tradition and culture and da, 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 like I don't think black people have any time for that. It hasn't benefited us. It hasn't been advantageous. So why do we continue to sit around and then somehow like it's like, oh, I'm gonna be on this old shit that doesn't work and hasn't benefited me, and I'm gonna demand that somehow I be elevated to the group where they've adapted and what they're doing is working for them. Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, if your shit doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you're where you're supposed to be because you're still on a model that doesn't work. And when you're entering global markets and you're entering this sort of future economy. I mean, even just looking at where things are going. The people, and I keep saying it. You need write code, not rhymes. And I don't have to say that to Nigerians, but I'm saying, it's about things are heading in the direction of robotics. I just put that video about the robotics on my community tab. All that shit with Boston Dynamics and everything else. That it's going in the direction of robotics, computer science. That's where things are going. Apps, Android apps, cell phones, all this stuff. I mean, that's where everything is going. And you can't be over there, you know, you know, sitting in some, you know, location in the northern province or northern part of Nigeria, with your mat saying Hamdulillah Allah, and it's like, and what do you like? You don't have anything. Oh well, see, that's not what the world is about, and we're living the way that God wanted us to live. Okay, well then stay broke and dusty then. It's not about the money. It's about the afterlife, and this is again, here's more retarded bullshit. So the goal is to live a poor and broke, dusty real life, so that you will die, and then you will be able to live what, a wealthy, opulent life in the afterlife that we don't even know if it even exists. You just have faith about it. It's just bullshit. You know what I mean? Why can't you have prosperity here and now? Why do you sit there and wait for prosperity in the afterlife? I mean, again, it's these coping mechanisms and these mental justifications for being broke and dusty. I don't get it. It's irritating. The shit clearly isn't working. You need to adapt, you need to adjust, and it's just that simple. And if somebody else is adapting and adjusting, faster than you, you shouldn't hate. Hell, you should be like, hey, man, I'm really trying to get it like you getting it. Brother to brother, Nigerian to Nigerian. Now, like I said, if the Igbos are just going to be on some, well, you're not us, so we don't fuck with you. You know what I mean? I'm like, nah, nigga, like if that's your position, then yeah, chances are you might get fucked up. I don't blame somebody for wanting to knock you over the head if that's your position. Like, oh, we just going, I'm like, again, bigger picture, bigger picture. When the Europeans went into Africa and they said, yeah, we're going to carve this bitch up and we're going to colonize this, Germany, you take this area, UK, you take this area, you know what I'm saying? Italy, you take this area, France, you take this area. They set their differences aside. They set that shit aside. Now, granted, did they have their little squabbles and fighting? Yeah, you had the Boer Wars in South Africa and shit like that. But again, when it came to, they always form Voltron when it comes to, like, we don't go in and divide their shit up. We don't We don't get to divide and conquer with them, but they always divide and conquer with us. They always pit us against each other, but we don't pit them against each other. It's not. Show me a time and a place where black people pitted white people against each other, and the white people fought each other, right? And then the black people somehow were advantaged. Show me in history where that took place. Never. But when it comes to them, somehow they can come into our space, you know, freaking give one person a leg up over the other, and you got to really understand or recognize how much they're studying you when they do that. How much they're studying. Again, it's the same thing that they did with dark-skinned black men and hypermasculinity. Black men didn't create that. White men created that. This whole, what they want to put on television. It's their television. It's their networks and stuff. If they wanted to make every dark-skinned black man look like he was gay, they could easily do it. Hell, they damn near did it in the early 2000s with the down low black men. Because if you notice, all the down low black men were dark-skinned. They weren't light-skinned. They were dark-skinned. You see, so I'm saying, they can go up there and they can do and manipulate however they want to manipulate it. And you don't even you're not even capable of responding to that shit. So they go in there, they study you. They're like, yeah, okay, all right, I got this industrious motherfucker over here. Oh man, that nigga's too smart, man. I can't put them in control because then that won't let me do my little neo-colonialism. So who do I put in power? I think I'll put this docile, obedient, cattle herding motherfucker. I'll put him in the driver's seat. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. That'll work. That'll work. You see, but black people, they so foolish. They'll sit there and they'll be like, like the house, they sitting up there like, yeah, he put us in power because they just recognize our awesomeness. How are you awesome? What have you done or demonstrated, by your own work that makes you awesome? What makes you awesome? Well, this book right here, it's called the Quran. It makes me awesome. I'm like, see, magical. God, it's so irritating. So irritating how we just get suckered all the damn time and don't see it. Now, granted, maybe they couldn't see it back then because they didn't have the internet. They didn't have ways of conveying these ideas and stuff like that. But, I think the brothers were, especially the black leaders that got assassinated. Again, go look them all up because I did. I can't remember any of the names because I can't say the names, so it's hard to remember them. But I'm like, okay, how do you spell this shit? I'm sitting there typing it in, and I'm starting to find speeches. I was like, all these brothers was hella educated, and it just not putting the educated people in the driver's seat is just dumb, and putting the uneducated people in the driver's seat who just simply feel that they're on par with the educated people, it never works. Never works. Anyway, I don't have much else to say. That's all I gotta say. That's my video. It's the Biafran War video. This thing it's upset me. I'm so in my feelings right now. Anyway, that's my video. SWP out.